been a year since I uploaded the first devlog for Dacuiri. I uploaded it because I wanted to show a couple of friends what I was working on in my free time. I never anticipated how many views it would end up getting, and I am forever grateful for any support for this project or any of my projects for that matter get. Thank you. But a year, that's a long time, and though it's no secret that game dev takes ages, it's hard not to think about how much more could have been done in that time. I like to believe I work on it an appropriate amount, and the fact that people care about it brings more motivation for sure, but I think it's a good time to reevaluate exactly what the game is. Before converting DAC into an isometric shooter, I picked up a game called the Hong Kong Massacre. It's a top-down shooter that sits at a mostly positive rating on Steam, mostly due to its price since it's about 2 hours long. Though I recognize some flaws, I found it enjoyable and figured I could try making something like that with the skill set I had at the time. But who would the player be? Who'd be behind the gun? The cat girl I created a few years ago, Stacy Soma. Other OCs would join the game too. Sundara, my oldest OC, the alien girl, Suki, the fish girl, Adrian, Stacy's sister, and even my good friend Harpy's OC, Dusk. Now I had an idea for the game and who would populate it, and the world and story began to form. But if I compared Dacuiri to the Hong Kong Massacre, it felt bloated. I like, and I'm still gonna do the drinks mechanic, throwing guns, dodge rolling, and a few other mechanics, but some felt like they didn't quite belong. For instance, the melee weapons were too complicated for what I was trying to go for. They were supposed to be fast, as deadly as the guns. There would be parrying and blocking, but after fiddling with those and eventually removing them, the game started to form back to my original vision. I wanted the game to be quick, to be brutal, to be bloody. I made everything do more damage, and made the player run faster. Now it feels quicker and more intense, exactly what I'm going for. In turn, it also makes the game harder than before as the player feels more squishy. So essentially, I've been cutting stuff out, trimming the fat if you will. A phrase I've always liked is that perfection is achieved when there's nothing left to take away, and in a sense that's what I'm trying to do. I don't expect Dacuiri to be perfect, as it's my first real game, but I hope the journey is worth it. Anyways, I'll get into some of the new stuff now. First off, the roster of guns is almost complete, which includes 3 pistols, the revolver, the machine pistol, 2 SMGs, 3 shotguns, 2 assault rifles, a sniper rifle, an anti-material rifle, an LMG, and a grenade launcher. Harpy just needs to design the bullpup rifle and it'll be complete. I've also begun creating new sounds for the guns. I wanted to make them sound more mechanical and punchy, but some sounds still need work to make all of them cohesive. I've also simplified the dual wielding system. Now you can only dual wield the exact same gun, but it shouldn't be hard to find what you're looking for since the enemy groups will use specific set guns. Only the pistols, revolver, machine pistol, and double barrel can be held akimbo. I mentioned in the previous devlog about changing up the UI. I changed the layout of the player's HUD, which also includes sprites of the drinks again. Once you drink a cocktail, for example the Fireball, an icon will appear next to the health. These are the ones I've created so far. The Fireball cocktail makes the player shoot twice as fast for a set amount of time. When you drink something, the icon fills back up and creates a sound when it's ready to be used again. Another change is the crosshair. I wanted it to display the player's current ammo, but using a number counter never felt right. I got the idea to use a radial progress bar instead. Now, it splits up into little bits unless you're holding something with over 25 bullets, like the assault rifle or LMG. This lets the player know how much ammo they have in a much quicker way, since they'll most likely be looking at the crosshair anyway. There's a weapon icon in the HUD too that shows you what weapon you have equipped. The weapon info widget, which appears over a hovered over weapon, has been simplified too. Now it just shows an icon of the weapon and how much ammo it has. A new composer, Mutt, has also started working on DAC. He's already created multiple combat and ambience tracks. Here's a few of them. I've begun to block out on a few more maps too. The apartments are an older map that I started remaking. I recently replayed Mirror's Edge, and there's a level in that game which takes place in the mall that's under construction. I wanted to do that too, so I started a map of a mall. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it under construction like in Mirror's Edge or abandoned to switch it up. There's also a level that takes place in a casino, which Seven Matthew in the Discord came up with a name for. It's called Paradise Casino. You start on the roof for this one, then work your way inside. I created slot machines as part of the level, which you can use. If you get a jackpot, coins spill out and a sound effect plays, which was created by Mutt. I also finished the first pass of a level called Tension, which was shown in the previous video. At the end of this mission, you plant a bomb in the basement of a building, so I modeled a bomb, which was built by Sundara, and created an animation for placing it. Too Real, the bar, also got a remake. I changed the layout and was inspired by mid-century modern and 70s vibes. Suki's lair is now hidden behind a secret door. I'm also working on the mission display more, which now includes these screens. When the player selects a mission, instead of a briefing, there will be a short conversation between Stacy, Suki, and the client, who will be displayed on these screens. Then the screens will show what drinks and weapon the player will bring with them. I also want to make the bunks more personalized and cozy, but for now they're just placeholders. This door leads to the shooting range and tutorial area, which also got a big rework. It still has a kill house, but now the team can be seen watching Stacy go through it. They'll also explain how the mechanics work as the player progresses through it. Simon made some killer music for it too. In the last devlog I had mentioned that I changed the way the roll works so that you dodge in the direction Stacy's moving, instead of dodging towards the mouse. That means you can't curve your rolls, which I miss doing. So I added a toggle in the settings menu. You can make the rolls movement based or mouse based now. I gave some people a new build of the mall level to try out, and they found some bugs and gave some feedback. Simon suggested that there should be more impact for when you take damage, and to consider adding a lock-on feature like the one in Hotline Miami. Purplick and Chi also played this build, and they found a few bugs. I asked them how the difficulty felt, and Chi said she went between "I'm the best player to grace this earth and I feel like a god" to "please help, I am being gunned down," which is pretty much exactly what I want to go for. I picked up a bunch of games in the summer sale, one of which is Withering Rooms. In that game, there's a mechanic where once you lose all your health, you're able to take one more hit before you actually die. It made the game feel a lot more fair, so I decided to implement that in Deck. I think it fits, but I'll have to see what the playtesters say. There's also new sprites for Stacy showing her in different damage states. She also smiles when firing her gun, though these are just temporary. I'm on the lookout to commission an artist for the character sprites and the key art, so if you have any recommendations, let me know. I had an urge to get better at character modeling, and I know the best way to do this is to just start modeling more, so I modeled a character that I had in my head for a little bit. Her name is Match Coyote. She's a robot girl with a bit of a western vibe. I'm proud of how she turned out, but never intended for her to be used in Dacuiri. But for now, fuck it, she's the mascot for the knockoff Monsters and American Spirits I made. I also streamed some development, only a couple of times since the last devlog, but it's fun, and I'll probably start doing it more often. There's also been a bunch of fan art for the game, which still blows my mind. I'll start showing some on screen. I love them all. Now let's look at some of the comments from the last video. Not Corin says, you could try to add like a small color hue on the side of the screen where the gunfire comes out, indicating the source of the sound when the enemies start shooting you outside the player point of view. This is a good idea, even though my intention is to make it so that you always see the enemy, like they're always on your screen whenever they fire at you or attack at you. But I know that it's probably not going to be perfect, and this is a good way to compromise that. Pythoria says, this game is coming together so well, legitimately great job. Well, thank you. And she also says, add Catboys, you won't? Well, you'll see. Theme Jack says, idea, horde mode. Functionally, similar to Ultrakill's Cybergrind. Select the map, character, toggle which factions you wish to be fighting against, and just go ham for as long as you can. I personally think it'd add a lot more replayability to the game given the way the combat works and flows. It's interesting you bring this up because Mutt was talking to me and he said that there should be a level where you're kind of in this underground fight club and you're surrounded by a group of enemies and they kind of come at you in like waves and stuff, and you have to fight them off and you're stuck in this one area, and either maybe after you kill a certain amount of waves, or after a certain amount of time you continue on with the rest of the level or something. So if I set up the system for that, that would be like the basis for an arena mode. And I like the idea of that because another one of the big inspirations for this game that I mentioned before is Madness Project Nexus, and in that they have an entirely different mode, which is an arena mode, but it also has like a complete different story, and your character, you can like level them up with RPG elements and stuff like that, so it kind of doubles the size of the game. So I think it's a good idea to invest some time into a mode like this. Fire Breathing Turtle Dragon says, I can't wait to play this game when it's finished and polished. I can't wait to see the story you're making. Also, as a fan of Yuri, I would like to request at least one kiss scene. Well, don't worry, there will be plenty of romance in the story between women. Dragon Lover says, out of curiosity, are there going to be achievements? I don't really mind either way, I'm just curious. There will be achievements. There will be some basic ones like complete level under the part-time or something. If I have some kind of results screen at the end of a level that like shows your time, how many kills you had, and maybe something else, there'll be achievements related to that, but there will also be, you know, some fun achievements to get as well. So there will definitely be achievements, I'm just not entirely sure what they're gonna be yet.